Hello, Donna and Gobi here. Welcome to my channel, Transcending Trauma. The channel is actually called Be the Art of Living You. It's funny, even if you put that in the search, it doesn't come up. Maybe I should just change it to Transcending Trauma because that's what it's about. But yeah, that can relate to living you, overcoming. So Gobi's licking his fur there. So anyways, today I want to talk about the addiction to neurochemicals and to the hijacking of the nervous system and sort of an observation of what I've seen in myself, and I'm pushing through and I'm staying strong. So there's this great book called Dopamine Nation. I don't know if it's available yet. I've listened to a lot of podcasts by the author. Someone had sent me multiple pages. When I went to buy it, it wasn't available yet for sale. So I don't really know how they got those pages, but it's really good. But basically what she talks about is that roller coaster that we go through. And, we definitely go through that with dysfunctional relationships. You have that intensity. Human beings aren't meant to live in constant intensity. We have moments of intensity. It's when, your nervous system is constantly being hijacked like that. So you have really high highs and really low lows with a narcissist because they'll do that love bombing and then they'll, pull it out. The love bombing actually dissipates, but she talks about in Dopamine Nation, and this makes sense. I see this with anxiety and depression too, that when you have your dopamine, which is, linked to addiction, your reward center, when you have your dopamine stores, constantly pinged up here, and then, the being sends, the low feelings because it always seeks homeostasis. Believe it or not, your being just biologically, it isn't seeking highs, it's seeking balance. So when you get these hits to your dopamine and that, you go way up here. And so then it sends the lows to compensate, to try to create that homeostasis. So those constant high highs will send naturally constant low lows to try to seek balance. It's trying to find that balance. So why it's so hard on the nervous system and the brain to go through that. Like I said, the being is made for, once in a while having that spike. It should be pretty much like this most of the time. So also why anxiety and depression go together, they're the remedy for each other. It's that cycle seeking balance. So, anxiety is that height, and then depression comes in to, help. It's a cure. It's a cure for anxiety. It helps, calm down all that height of anxiety, and then when the depression gets too depressing, then the anxiety comes back up. So what's the cure? You know, um, I know the lady that wrote Dopamine Nation, and I've heard a lot of people in Silicon Valley don't let their children use these things that I'm talking into, but definitely aimlessly scrolling on social media. They did that on purpose, made it a scrolling system like that. Think about it. That looks like a slot machine. And the light and the brain. And, I haven't read about that eye movement that way, but I'm pretty sure that that is not healthy for you. It's hitting that dopamine, it's hitting that reward system. And, it creates addiction, and which in turn creates depression and anxiety. He's pawing at his face. So not good for you. So, I would limit like scrolling on the phone. I started, and this is what I wanted to talk about that I noticed today. And I'm proud that I pushed through it. And I really wanted to share because if someone else is going through it, I want to tell them there's hope. I like giving the hope, So, so I started looking at my life, and we become addicted, it's our normal, and when you grow up in dysfunction, people that hijack your nervous system and cause intensity in you, that feels attractive to you, that activates your attachment system. You can become what's called learned secure, where that doesn't work for you anymore. Thankfully, I'm getting there. When people hijack me, it doesn't activate that attachment in me anymore. I feel what that feels to me, and that is the hijacking and the sabotaging of my own human body and nervous system, and I don't like it, you know. I don't like being treated like that, you know. I want some peace, excitement, sure, but not a roller coaster. No, thank you. So, but you know, we become addicted to it. It's, you know, when we grow up in it, and then we go and pick that, and we choose that over and over until we have awareness, and we're like, whoa, how I'm picking and what I'm choosing is not, it's not good for me. It's not working. So I started doing this simple thing. I talked about it in another video, where I would just ask myself about everything. Is this dysregulating, meaning upsetting, chaotic to my nervous system, or is this regulating, meaning I feel peaceful, relaxed, you know, in power? So is this regulating or dysregulating? Some people also use things like, is this self-loving? Or you could ask, is this self-caring? Is this self-loving? Or is this, you know, self-sabotaging, self-harming, you know? Is this good for me or is this bad for me? Really, you know? And I know it's hard when we're in addiction, and especially if you're in one of the intensity loops, you'll be like, no, this is awesome for me. But remember, intensity is not awesome for you, not on a daily, not on a weekly even, you know, like intensity is meant for moments, you know, not a constant. You will fry out your nervous system and your being, and you won't have the bandwidth to do other things like carve out a purpose for yourself, create security and safety, and, you know, have your brain online, your front brain, so that you can, you know, make executive choices, you know, that executive part of the brain, you know. So like intensity, constant intensity, remember, it wants homeostasis. So remember, when you're in that intense moment, you are going to have a low after that. You know, it's natural. You can't stay up there. It's too much for the nervous system, you know. So I just started asking myself that, and about everything. Should I read this? Is this regulating or dysregulating? I've started reading some books that were even recovery books, and I found myself really dysregulated by it. And I was like, this isn't good for me. I'm not going to push myself to read this because it's good about recovery. This is dysregulating me, at least in this moment. I'm going to set it down, and I'm going to care for myself, you know? And, you know, same about like who I'm engaging with, you know, are they like, you know, I understand like some people go through crisis, but is it someone that's constantly emotionally dumping on you? You know, that's not healthy for you, you know? And they need to go emotionally dump with the therapist, you know? Like, it's great to be there for people and be there in crisis moments for friends, and, you know, but when someone, if you see a pattern of this like constant emotional dumping and you don't feel any of that reciprocity back, you know, that those people are not good for you. They hijack your nervous system. They dysregulate you, you know? So it's not your job to make them better, you know? I like in therapy, in one of the groups I did, the MRT group, we learned, you know, especially once you've lived through abuse, and if you've taken on like the fawning, the people pleasing, the codependent role where you like are really drawn to helping people. If you step back and notice you don't help yourself, you're off fixing everyone else. But we had certain steps we had to take. And when we helped people, we had to, one, tell them that we're helping them because we think that they're not capable of helping themselves at the moment. You know, that may be enough to make someone, you know, like, we don't want to enable, you know, like, I don't need to do someone else's healing for them, you know. And so, to be honest, you know, say, hey, yeah, I'm doing this for you because I'm feeling like what I'm seeing is you can't do this for yourself, you know. And that's disempowering them, you know. It's disempowering to someone. It's disempowering to not say anything and to just do it for them, you know. And most of the time people will wake up and be like, no, I can do this, you know. It'll set that drive in them. And also that when we help, we have to, you know, teach the man to fish. We're not allowed to fish for them. We can't do their things for them. If I think that a group therapy is good for someone and I find myself doing it, I can give them the name of the group therapy and say, hey, this is my experience. It really worked. But I am not to set up the appointment for them, go online and buy the book for them, drive them to the thing. They have to do this on their own. This is how their own healing happens. It's it, and then it brings them so much more joy too, to be able to overcome themselves. So, and it's just a habit we've learned, if you've grown up in dysfunction, it's not to rip on yourself. Like, you learned to placate, to fawn, to people please, to create safety for yourself. So that's okay. So, you did what you had to do, and now you're learning better ways. So we don't have to make safety for ourselves by fixing everyone around us. We just got to fix us. So anyways, the is this regulating or is this dysregulating? So, noticing like what I eat, what I'm digesting mentally, what I'm digesting emotionally, physically, my choices, all of my choices. I'm asking myself, is this regulating or dysregulating? So I started doing that, and what do you know? What do you know? I got rid of a lot of stuff in my life that was dysregulating. And it's going to be hard because, again, the body is addicted to the roller coaster ride. It's addicted. It's going to want to seek intensity. It's going to want to seek intensity. And self-sabotage can even be intensity, believe it or not. So you could even seek self-sabotage because that creates an intensity that you're missing. So anyways, I took away the intensity. It was not easy. And I started regulating my nervous system, doing things that were just regulating for me. And, so I have noticed I am getting to a point of homeostasis, but I wanted to share before. It's not like you take that out and you're just, oh, now I'm regulated. No, you go through withdrawals, just like any addiction. You're going to go through withdrawals, and you're going to your brain's going to tell you to seek that intensity. No, this is ridiculous. I can do those things. This is just, yeah, I don't know why I was thinking that, whatever voice the addiction gives to try to seek what it's craving, which is intensity. So, just, ignoring that and pushing through, the withdrawals. But I noticed lately that I have been feeling a little more blah. And so I think a lot of healing is about how we relate to things, but just to even know just biologically, we go through things. So, with an addiction, think of it, like when someone has that intensity of an actual chemical addiction, like to a drug, they want that because they get that intensity from it. They get that reward system hit. And so I wasn't even doing things that were healthy to hit that reward system. I mean, you can. There's intensity seeking in exercise and in goals, and those are healthier intensity seeking, but I wasn't even intensity seeking those. I wanted to create a new baseline for myself, for my life. And I want to live happy and stable and well. And, I don't want those highs and lows anymore. I don't want to live like that. It's exhausting. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so about feeling you know, the lows. Gosh, where was I? I think I was talking about someone else. Anyways, I'll just go back to, what I was feeling. So, I think I was talking about the drug addict. And then when they come off of the drug and then they'll feel really low. And then normal can feel really boring and really uneventful. And I think I've kind of gotten to that stage, and I started feeling kind of blah, and I think that's sort of even the past residue of, living a life of intensity is, that's how I've lived. I grew up in an intense family system, and then I sought that after, and that's how I've been living. So, it's a big change. I'm 54, I've lived like this for a long time. So, so having that new baseline, I did start feeling sort of not depressed because my body's not going through that highs and lows anymore. I think I was saying when I lost my train of thought about perspectives, but it's also biology, you know. And just so if you know the biology, you can sort of give yourself more hopeful and positive perspective. Because I could have during this time where my baseline is, you know, becoming more regulated, I could have sought intensity because it feels a little uneventful, you know, a little blah. And not, like I said, not depressed, not those intense low lows, you know, just normal. And I'm not used to normal. I'm used to intense, you know. It's interesting. I heard a therapist, well, this guy Forrest something Hansen, you can look him up. He's good. Forrest Hansen on YouTube, and his girlfriend, her name's on the tip of my tongue, but she's a therapist also. I'm going to end it soon. I see it's 16 minutes. But she said that, you know, growing up the way she did, where she would go to a party and she would always, she just, that's what she became regulated to. That's what she became attuned to. She would notice the most depressed down person at the party, and that's who she would go over there to connect to and uplift. Like, that's what I learned, you know, like, I'm going to make the unhappy people happy. You know, I'm going to fix the people, you know, instead of her just like enjoying herself there. And it's not mean. It's not saying, you know, she doesn't have empathy for that person. I heard Teal Swan say that recently on something that I saw scrolling through Facebook. I try not to do that. It happens sometimes. Um, but that, you know, she said the same thing, that, you know, it's what I'm used to. It's how I'm used to being. I find the person that's hurting and I want to help them, you know? And so, but I have to have boundaries around that protect me, you know? And you know, I found too, sometimes when I do that, you know, I don't see them seeking help for themselves. They just, you know, they use me to regulate off of, and then they're regulated for the moment, and then off they go until they're dysregulated again. And what they need to do is find their own healing, you know, find their own path to recovery, you know, take on that journey themselves, you know. Too much for my nervous system, you know, finally caring for myself, you know, sounds selfish, but it's not, you know. I'm in charge of myself, you know, I can give empathy, you know, I can lead a man to fish. I can't keep fishing for them, you know. So, yeah, and then seeking that in partnership, you know, seeking instability, you know, and no matter what form, you know, I lived through domestic violence, but then seeking, you know, unavailable partners because there's intensity there, you know, what, you know, just whatever it was, you know, if it was someone that was dysfunctional or just someone that just wasn't available to me, you know, it was that intensity. So, um, done with that for sure. But so, okay, back to, you know, feeling that baseline and feeling like sort of the boredom there. Obviously, we can do things to find like purpose and find, you know, things that, you know, create excitement in our life. But I'm talking strictly creating homeostasis and finding a new baseline. So I felt like some real joy today. So I just wanted to share that. Like, not intensity joy, not intensity seeking joy, just real joy, just real joy. So I just want to share it's possible, you know, even after 54 years, to change your patterns and to regulate yourself. And so, yeah, I've gone through like a little period of blahs because, you know, my being is obviously missing the intensity, the addiction, what it grew up in, you know. That's what its normal was. And I'm creating a new normal. And it's felt a little blah. And I just, you know, I see peace now in my life. And I felt like joy. And also, another good tip is sort of reminding yourself, like when you're feeling sort of bored, remind yourself of those lows, because those highs, that those intense highs always come with those lows. So just remind yourself, like, I've swam in those abysses. Oh my goodness, like the depths of despair, you know. And And not shaming myself either. I went through things that definitely warranted, you know, hard feelings, So, but, taking control of my life, and the parts I can, we're not completely helpless. There are things outside of our control and there's things in our control, both, So I can make choices every day, and I'm choosing to regulate and I'm choosing to see the beauty in normal, the beauty in calm, the beauty in not being hijacked and not feeling constant intensity with those highs and lows. And I'm just experiencing and enjoying peaceful, calming, regulating joy. All right, peace out.